everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori, and this is the third installment of the expectation series. And I want to talk to you about expectations in relationships. Yes, this has been a big one. I have a whole podcast coming up about it, so we can really deep dive into it. But I wanted to kind of touch base on it since we're doing an expectation series, because this can become extremely problematic. Now, it goes back into what we were talking about in the episode right before this, episode 2, which is expecting you out of people. Here's the deal. Everybody loves differently. Everybody shows up differently. Now, it's up to you to decide what it is that you will tolerate, because what you tolerate will continue. However, some things we all need a little level of tolerance. So first you have to ask yourself, what is it that you're expecting in a relationship? Because you have to be careful of it. Love and codependency are two different things, but they can mimic each other, right? So you have to be really careful of that, because codependency is where you feel like, oh, I can't live without that person. Or, oh my gosh, I have to control that narrative. What if I lose this person? That's not love. Don't get that twisted. That's codependency. And so this is important when it comes to those expectations. So let's say, I want to give you a scenario. Let's say that you had a relationship prior to the one that you're in now. And in that relationship, you were cheated on, or there was some infidelity, there was some maybe betrayal, things like that. That was happening, okay? If that has happened, you don't bring that insecurity into this new relationship and then expect that new relationship to show and prove based on the past mistakes, or not say mistakes, but whatever, the past indiscretions, right? And this is important because when you're in a relationship that is healthy, and I mean, it could be a friendship, it could be a love relationship, you have autonomy. And what autonomy means is you each have your own life outside of each other. You have hobbies, you can hang out with your girlfriends, guy friends, whatever. Okay, you can hang out with these people, right? So you have to ask yourself, why are you carrying these expectations? Number one, you should never be anybody's first priority. You should be your own first priority, and they should have their own autonomy to be their first priority. In turn, when you have self-love and they have self-love, right, in a perfect world, then you each will have a better understanding and love for each other. And this is important because you can't have love in a relationship, true love in a relationship, until you have that self-love. Because these expectations, you're going to like put these expectations like, well, but you're my spouse. Well, yes, but they don't have to walk on eggshells because you're having a bad day. They don't have to be like on eggshells because you have anxiety. They don't. Just because they're your spouse, you don't get to dump on them the second you hit the door. You have to ask if they're in a space to hear you. Yes, are you in a space to hear me? Because half the time when you just come in, you just guns a-blazing, kind of, so to speak, and that person's just like, whoa, you just came in like hellfire, right? And the thing is you can't do that. That's not okay. Just because somebody is, don't expect them to just be there to hear you at all times and to fix it and to fix your insecurities. So going back to that situation, you have to work on healing your past traumas, whether it be relationship wise, childhood wise, it doesn't matter. You have to heal that. Stop expecting other people to make it easier for you. And now you're insecure. So now you need them to message you 400 times a day, or you need them to say, no, but I'm not going anywhere, but I'm not. No. See, that's the whole thing between love and codependency. And just because you want something or someone in your life, don't try to force the relationship. Stop expecting the relationship to work because you want it. Some people may not want that anymore. It could be friendships. I don't care if you've been friends with somebody for 65 years. If somebody feels as though they want to distance or they want to grow apart, they have that right to do that. Like, they have that right to do that. Everybody has a right to do what is best for their own peace, right? They have that right to do that. So you have to be clear in that. So what are some things, and you want to also ask yourself, what are the non-negotiables in your life for you, right? What are your non-negotiables? For me, I'm a big animal girl. So if I was single and I was dating somebody and they were like, well, I don't really like animals in the house, I don't care what else you got going on. That's a total deal breaker for me, completely. It may not be for you, and that's fine. But for me, it is. My animals are extremely important to me and I love them dearly. And so that would be a deal breaker for me. I'm not negotiating on that, but I can negotiate on a million other things. So you first have to ask yourself, what are your non-negotiables? That list should be really small though. Your negotiable list should be really big. So don't have all these non-negotiables over here. because that, if you have like all these non-negotiables, then you know where that comes from. That comes from a past trauma that you've not healed, right? That you're carrying into this relationship. Now, it's not just about like love relationships, friendships as well. No, you don't have to be included with this group of people don't always have to stick together. There are people that you want to go shopping with. There's people you want to go out to the bar with. There's people you want to just have over to your house. Not everybody has to be included, including you. And so when stop expecting everybody to include you in on everything. That no. Your fear of missing out, that's for you to process. Okay. And so that's why these expectations, you got to stop with, and that's why yesterday's was, or I'll say yesterday because I did a back to back, but like yesterday's episode is so important. Just because you would invite somebody doesn't mean they have to. This is how relationships become sustainable and healthy. When you respect people where they are, this is why opposites actually attract a lot, right? Because when you believe differently, I'm not saying like total deal breaker things, right? But I'm saying like, oh, if you don't want to be out drinking and the other person does want to go out drinking, not like totally wasted, but just going out and having drinks. Well, you're not going to invite that person, but you're going to still appreciate them. You're going to go, cool, I'll come over tomorrow and we'll do coffee. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where that compromise comes into play, but you don't try to force a relationship based on the idea in which you want it to be. See, that's where you get in trouble. Oh, I wish I had a better relationship with my parents. Okay, but you don't. And there's only so much you can do. So if you sit there and you keep romanticizing and Cinderella-ing, not a word, it is my word, Cinderella-ing, like fantasizing on how you want the relationship to be. Oh, my sister and I should be closer. Oh, my daughter and I should be closer. Oh, my boyfriend and I should be closer. Stop fantasizing for what you want it to be and start accepting it for what it is. That's your lack of acceptance and your ego to think that somebody has to walk on eggshells because you're having a bad day. No, they're not obligated to do that just because they're your parent and you're an adult child. No, they do not have to do that. And nor do you. So, but that's where that self-love comes into play. Because if not, you're going to go right into a victim mentality. That victim mentality will be like, but I don't know why. Like, can't they see that? That's my dad or that's my mom. Okay, stop it. Stop trying to change a person. You're falling in love with the idea of what you want it to be. I hear you. You're allowed to have it. That thoughts and feelings aren't facts, but they are real to you in that moment. But you have to say, listen, I'm going to have to accept this. Or you can say, I can't accept. I mean, I'm going to accept it, but I don't want to deal with it. And that's where you have to be strong. You have to be strong to be able to make these decisions. And that's where the relationship piece of it comes into play. So stop with the expectations that just because you had a bad relationship or a bad childhood, that the people now, friends, family, spouses, lovers, whatever, stop making it seem that they have to coddle you. They don't. That's your job to heal that. That's when you start having respect for each other. That's where you can see somebody. That's where you're not going through their social media. If you feel the need to go through somebody's social media, please just don't be in the relationship. Please don't be in the relationship. Please. Because then you're not doing you a service, you're not doing them a service. Then if somebody does that, then they're going to hold resentment towards you. It's going to be an entire thing. It's going to be an entire process. Okay. So you have to understand that when you're sitting there and you're carrying these levels of expectations, you don't want somebody to be bullied into being into any type of a relationship with you ever. You don't want anybody to be bullied. You don't want to bully someone and then stay around just because you would rather be with somebody than not be with somebody. And now you're trying to make them feel bad. And now you're trying to guilt trip them into things. No, that's not a relationship. That goes into control. Stop making it seem like, well, this person has to do this. This person's obligated to do this. They're not. Now we go into entitlement, and entitlement goes into a whole bunch of different things. Insecurity, fears, things like that. It's up to you to heal your stuff. It's whatever the trauma was that was inflicted upon you is not your responsibility. It is not your fault, but you have to heal it. You are here now. It is not anybody else's job. Yes, it's great to have a support system. And if you have one, amazing. But the biggest support system you need is the person in the mirror. You might need to be by yourself for a while. It's not ideal. I know you don't like it. But you know what? If you can't spend time with yourself, why would anybody else want to spend time with you? If you can't spend time, alone time with you, Why would somebody else want to spend alone time with you? That's hypocritical. So remember, when you're going into this relationship, curb your expectations. And if let's say your non-negotiables are there and you kind of overlook that and let them come in or do whatever, and then they don't do it, and then you get mad at them, don't get mad at them. You know what you're dealing with. You know who you're dealing with. If someone isn't showing up, if someone's doing that and then you're mad at them, no, it's not them. That's how they are. They're choosing to not move forward. They're choosing to not be on that certain path of their own healing. Don't judge them, but you don't have to deal with it. So that is the wrap. And it goes way deeper. I'll do a podcast on it, on expectations in any relationship.